Hey, what's going on, you guys? We got a new episode number 15 of Marvel Yap today. Today we're going to be going over the previous OTA and patch that just happened this past week, as well as talking about Deadpool's Diner and talking about the monetization and card acquisition that we have in Marvel Snap. Let's jump right into it.
As always, apparently I'm the hostess with the mostest, not my dance, on Tucker's channel. I'm starting because Tucker's currently laughing right now, and I just threw him off with me starting here. How are you doing, my man? I just hijacked this from you. I'm sorry. I don't care.
What's really crazy is he actually started this at like the perfect time, like right as I hit record, which is really cool.
Yeah, let's go.
In sync right there. But I'm doing absolutely fantastic. My favorite holiday of the year is actually coming up, not this week, but next week. So very excited.
That's not Christmas. It's not.
Oh, I know.
It's that. No, it's Thanksgiving, right?
Mm-hmm. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday of the year.
Have you said you've said why before, right? I think I remember this.
I'm a foodie.
Just because of the food.
Yep.
Yeah. You just love the food so much, and I respect that. That's awesome. No, that's fair. It is a very good holiday. I do enjoy Thanksgiving a lot. It's gonna be a lot of fun this year. Case isn't obvious. I'm definitely between the two, though. I am more on the Christmas side personally. I've got my next ugly Christmas sweater here, and again, I say ugly because it's the style. But if you're gonna tell me that this gorgeous piece is ugly, you're crazy. I just can't agree.
Check.
Hey, yo. Dude, I love these. I've got, I actually did a full count. I have 10 different ones. I don't think I'm going to be able to wear all of them during Yaps this year, but I got quite a few. What you got? Wrong button, sorry.
I'm not wearing a lot of Christmas sweaters. I'm not a huge sweater guy, especially in Florida. It's like so hot down here. Me wearing long sleeves is pretty much unnatural. So I will not be wearing any long sleeves, especially not here on stream. I have to have a fan, 2 fans actually, in this room, so I don't overheat. Or in the PC, I guess, too.
Oh, really?
So I have 2 fans in here. With all the kittens, too, it's a lot of body heat in here.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. No, I have, what is it? I'm on the bottom floor of my house. I've got, what is it? I've got the outside, and it's cold outside right now. I've seen leaves falling and such. I have a blanket over my lower half that is unseen. Just because my legs, especially because I'm sitting here, they don't get circulation, as well as the fact I also have a little space heater that I have over as well. And I've got either like moccasins or like socks or something else that I'm wearing.
Water moccasin, like snakes? You're wearing snakes?
I am terrified of snakes. I can't. No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm so okay. Sorry, this is okay. I'm gonna yap. Sorry, you remind me of something. I was gonna tell you about it in general, that it works now. So, what is it? It was like a week or 2 ago.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? I was getting home from, I think, from hanging out over at Lisa's folks' house, my wife's folks' house, and we were, and I got home, took the dog inside, and I was chilling out. I was taking care of some schoolwork and stuff. I was taking care of the background, and I hear the garage open. I hear my wife come home, and I'm sitting there for a bit, and she's still not inside. And I'm like, what's going on, babe? She knows for a fact I'm deathly afraid of snakes. And she says, there's a snake that you've trapped, and I think you've killed it when you entered the garage. Snake was trying to go up into our garage. I assume, apparently. And just in the brief amount of time that I open the garage door, drive the car in, and then drive back down. It took that little time. And so I'm sitting there like, what? She's like, yeah, I'm gonna try to take care of it because I know you hate snakes so much. But she's so brave. She's so kind. She's trying to take care of it herself as well. But she's sitting there like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, I'm like, I got this. I can do it. It's fine. And it's not a large snake. I can't, it doesn't matter what size the snake is. I can't do it. I remember when I was a kid, my dad used to at one point, it was a little gardener snake, like literally like this long or whatever. He grabbed it and tried to hold it close to me. And we were in the backyard. Literally jumped over their fence and just ran down the street like a block. No. That's my reaction to it. Anyway, snake was dead. I had to I grabbed a shovel and I'm just sitting there screaming expletives because I just hate it. My whole body is saying, stop, you hate this, don't do it. I don't care, it's dead. I have no logic. Terrified. But so I grab a shovel and just get away, just trying to push it away as far as possible, into the rocks, into areas where I don't have to ever see it again. And yeah, it was really fun. And my wife has enjoyed telling her friends about when I just middle of the night just started screaming expletives with a snow shovel when there's no snow outside because I was dealing with a dead snake.
Well, that's a good highlight of the week for you. If you guys did not know,
I hated it so much.
Dance is a hero, and he saved his wife from imminent danger.
It was from a dead snake.
Imminent danger. Which also brings us to our next topic over here, which we got 3 topics for today. We got the OTA and patch that happened this past week. We got Deadpool's Diner, and we got Marvel Spend All Your Money Snap. We're going to be talking about the economy as a whole. And when we're talking about like dead things right now, did we get a little bit of a revive when it came to the OTA and the patch this past week?
I really enjoyed the OTA. In general, I think it made everything, it took a lot of points that felt very mid in the meta and brought just a lot of stuff up and some stuff down very quickly in order to, because again, this is the part of the year, and I said it before, where I'm actually the most scared about the balance in the meta in Marvel Snap. Because of the fact that we are going to be without an OTA for about a month or, right? I think it's just 1 month in general.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely a little bit scared of what the meta is going to be like, but as just a idea for what it's going to be at first for like a taste, this was a really exciting start. I liked it. What were you thinking?
I really enjoyed the OTA as a whole. I think there were some cards that got a little tweak here, just like, okay. But there's other cards that kind of have been revitalized or they have been changed in such a way to actually make them dynamic in the meta right now. I think we kind of have a expansive meta when you look down to some of the finite details. But like some people's pocket metas are different than other people's pocket metas. So like for some people, you might be running into the same decks, but I still feel like we are in a place right now where you could play just about anything. And it's just knowing your snap conditions and your retreat conditions.
I think, we can talk about that, I think, in a little bit after we talk about the cards. But I do think in general, the meta's in a good spot. I think there's exactly one archetype that I'm not a fan of currently. But I think we could talk about exactly why I think in a bit. We're looking at Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier got a buff. This wasn't a card I just expected to get a buff, though. I'm not going to lie. And I know we've talked about many different times the cards we thought could get buffed and changed, whatever. This was never one of our cards.
No. It was not in the forefront of my brains at all. I wasn't like, oh, this card needs a buff. But I'm not opposed to it. I think it's still, it's okay. And I mean, I like that the card that got a buff is the token and not the base card getting a buff because it makes the most sense in that sense, you know?
Yeah, it's akin to when, what is it, like Nova, when I think he was a 1-2 and they brought him down to a 1-1.
Yeah.
Which again, it didn't really make much of a difference. It just means like the base card doesn't make it anything. You want the effect of when it is destroyed to be better. Same thing with the Bucky change here, or the Bucky to Winter Soldier change. And I like it. I think it was in general good. It brought it up in popularity. We have images, I think, in general of general stats, I think, for this, but I don't know if we have specifics here. What is it? But pre-OTA, Bucky was struggling a little bit, and then afterwards, he's still not doing the best, but he's not in the worst place.
You're still not winning games playing Bucky, but like going to where he was prior, win rate rise, he was 1% less and 0.01 cube less. His play rate has gone up twice the amount he was originally, which is good. I think people are playing some more token destroy stuff, and I think honestly, the main reason people might be playing Bucky is because of, I would say, we're gonna jump around a little bit here when it comes to just making so like this flows, but like this change right here to Thanos really elevated a bunch of different decks because this helped the Thanos destroy archetype, because with Bucky becoming destroyed in Winter Soldier, it's a token, so it helps the Mockingbird. But that's not why this deck's doing incredible. This deck's doing incredible because of the big Thanos change.
Yeah, I mean, so Thanos previously he didn't count as one of the cards in your or he counted as one of the cards in your open hand. So when you in Marvel Snap, when you start the game, you have 3 cards in your hand. Thanos was one of those 3 cards. Now you have that opening hand of 3 cards, and also Thanos is in said hand. So it's a very nice change. The biggest thing that I noticed with this is in all the stones and everything, we have the Mind Stone that draws 2, and then we have 3 other stones. Is it 3 or I want to say it's 3 other stones that each draw one card.
Yes.
So in general, that is 5 extra card draws that you're getting with the stones. And then with Thanos being in your opening hand, that's now you're closer to 6, which means you're now every single card that you're adding into your deck, you have basically an extra way to thin your deck out to pull it out, which makes it so it balances itself a little bit more. And that makes sense with a Thanos focused Thanos, which is a weird thing to say, but the Infinity Stones used to buff themselves, used to be just good for themselves, not for specifically Thanos. But now if you want the whole deck to be focused around Thanos, you want to be able to get all those pieces. And Thanos has been struggling for that. And now I really am enjoying this. I think it's a really good change. I'm glad to see Thanos is at least back. I'm hoping he's not overpowered. I think we still need to probably like wait and see more stuff. But in general, I think I like the fact. I mean, what are you thinking about Thanos in general?
I like that Thanos himself is back, and I like some of the core, pure Thanos-built decks. My biggest gripe with Thanos right now is the Thanos Arishem deck. That is my least favorite deck in the game, easily.
I think, so when you were talking earlier about like easy snapping, easy retreating conditions, and making sure you're knowing that stuff, that's just the biggest issue I think you can take with Arishem.
Yep.
You never know what they have. You don't know if they have so many cards in their deck, especially with Thanos Arishem. They have so many cards in their deck, you can't plan around that stuff. And that's the biggest issue specifically with Arishem and then Thanos as well, which is wild that we're throwing as many cards into our deck as possible now. But I guess it kind of makes sense there for Thanos because again, so many of your Infinity Stones are drawing extra cards, and those are going to be just more cards, give you more to hopefully mitigate the randomness and the difficulty of Arishem. So, I mean, in general, I'm happy that Thanos has gotten this change. Also, some Thanos Surtur stuff is cool to see. We'll talk about Surtur in a second. But what is it? He went from a negative win rate, negative win rate, negative cube rate before, and I think it's gone positive as of now.
Yeah, Thanos was really down bad, and now Thanos is up, and the play rate went from 3% to almost 19%, so it's 6 times as much as he was before, which is also like they buffed Thanos because there's the Thanos bundle coming out next week, of course. You know, to make a little.
They've said it. They've said in fact that they like to buff cards when it's going to be available for more people. I mean, that it's just a thing that they've always done.
Speaking of buffing cards that we now have access to, in the middle of maybe even a spotlight week, we have Valentina, who also got a pretty significant change. I mean, when you think about it, you're like, well, maybe, you know, -3 power to -2 power isn't that big of a difference, but she's not Hela. So, like, I think this is actually pretty practical.
No, it's not a bad change at all. I don't mind this. This is fine. This feels like a place where a point of power is fair.
Yes.
Or is it to give? And it's not even to her. It's just the 6-cost card that she gives, because honestly, there are still so many. She has more 6-cost cards that are bad than even, if you think about it, like even that Nick Fury gives, right? Like she can give Agatha. Yeah. So I think it's fair to just give her this little bit of point. It's not a crazy thing. It just feels like a good change. I have no issue here. It was just cool. You gave her a buff. It went, for what it's worth, her play rate actually really skyrocketed. I'm pretty sure it's been inside of the Ajax deck as well that she's been played a lot. But going from, she's now at 7.7%, whereas previously she was all the way down at
4.2.
Yeah, 4.2. Yeah. No, really low. So definitely a great thing there.
A practical change opposed to this very impractical change. I cannot believe they buffed Shadow King to 2/3 and then they put him back down to 2/2. What are they thinking? You know?
It was needed, yeah. Yeah, I mean, cool. Thank goodness that Shadow King should never have gotten buffed in the first place. I don't know why they did that. That was a miss and a half. I don't know. He went down in popularity at least, so that's good. I just don't I didn't get this change. I just didn't get why they had to make this change in the first place.
You're right. Shadow King went so far down in popularity.
Yeah, he's like
post
nothing
change.
now.
Went from 28% to 35% since the change. His win rate did decrease, but the cube rate didn't change. But like, oh my gosh, that's like another moment where I'm like, what? And then honestly, another practical change though, like, as much as I might not be a huge fan of this going from a 1-1 to a 1-0, I don't hate it.
I think it's fair. I did think it was fair. I think Silver Sable's a good card. Yes. And she is still going to be fine with this change. It just makes it so she is no longer the best one drop in a lot of decks now. It just means that she is just a card that is good inside of the decks that she is going to be good for. Bounce and like, again, we're talking about Ajax. Those type of decks are going to still be fine with her. But in general, she's just not going to be like, okay, we just need a one-cost card. Silver Sable.
Yep. No, I agree.
Which is good.
And like looking at her from originally, she had a 0 average cube rate, 12% popularity, 48.6% win rate. And now looking at Silver Sable, she has a 53% win rate, up on cubes, and 7.7% popularity. So popularity dropped just a little bit, but the win rate and the cube rate actually went up post change. Okay, what the?
Your cat's having a fun time over there.
Yeah, they literally jumped on top of my PC, jumped onto my desk. So that was a little interesting.
They're having a blast. What is it? I mean, no, I think in general, these just feel like the majority of these changes that we're seeing here are just, yep, this makes sense. Like nothing feels egregious in these changes. None of these changes feel like they're coming out of left field, buffing something that doesn't need to get buffed, or nerfing something that, in my opinion, doesn't even need to get nerfed. Right? Like I think in general, what we're seeing from these, and there's more, these cards are, how do I say this? The cards that they're hitting here, I think every single one of them made sense for what they were trying to do. And, which also, we haven't even talked about the fact that there were like, I think they had 13 cards to 14 technically. One of them was just a text change, right? Yes. For Agatha, we don't whatever. And then Malekith had some bugs originally.
Yes.
Where he was looking at the adjusted cost and not the base cost. Differences between like uppercase and lowercase C, if y'all don't know. So yeah, that we had that stuff right there. So those were the differences there. But in general, I think it was a great OTA.
Yeah, and I think the Malekith change is because Pixie and Zabu's cost change is a capital C, which looks at the cost they started with, which is based cost, opposed to lowercase, looking at concurrent cost. And it also interacted with She-Hulk too, because She-Hulk actually in your deck has a quote-unquote base cost that changes, even though like it doesn't work with Zemo. Like Death and She-Hulk don't work with Zemo, but they get their costs in your hand. But apparently Malekith was able to look at it in your deck, which is very interesting.
It was working with negative as well. If we're just gonna try to figure out more things, low-key cards. But yeah, in general, it's a good change. I like it because again, I think one of the things we talked about when we first talked about like the Malekith synergies we wanted to do was trying to mess with like I wanted to mess with it in Pixie, not because of the bug, which we didn't know about till he was live, but I wanted to mess with that because it actually gave you some reason to potentially if your 1/2 cost cards or 3 cost cards got swapped with a really high cost card, you just played them for free.
Yes.
So it felt like just in general a good change.
Because it's just the deck thinning, and like that's what makes the card really well. And I'm glad that I still am very high on the card. I don't necessarily know if it's still the best card of the season. I think that's still TBD. But I love the application, and I think he is way better than what people thinking what he was going to be. But talking about another change, a nerf, but also a buff that I don't think really should have been a buff is Agent Venom going to a 2/5 from a 2/4. I don't think he needed the points of power. I do think he needed the adjustment of setting the power of your cards to 3. I think that was valid, but him getting extra power, I was like, I don't know about this one.
Yeah, I don't know why him getting the extra, like that is the second highest base power 2-cost card. Other than, is that Maximus, right? I think that's it.
Yeah, because it's Silk, Agent Venom, Maximus, Lizard, and Silk's downside is Silk moves whenever you play a card there, and Lizard has an ongoing -4. This downside is if you don't build your deck correctly, you're going to set all the power of your cards in your deck to 3.
So I do think the downside is much larger now. Because the 4, like, typically if you were running a 5-cost card, you're like, okay, it can lose a point of power. But now it's losing 2 points of power, and that's a big thing. And so you can't just put it into the decks you were using before with, like, your claw and stuff like that, because now you're actually taking a hit on those cards. I think the logic behind, in my opinion, why they gave it extra power, not that I agree with it, but the logic, I think, was that, in similar to how Wiccan has a very high premium stat line, and also a really good ability, technically, it forces you to be very narrow in the way that you're building the deck, right? I think that was my logic there. So maybe that's it, but also his change, like he's gone down in play rate a good chunk.
Well, it's just play rate has gone down because the meta is different this season.
True,
but I think
that's fair.
If you're playing this you can still play this in the OG Agent Venom list. Your claw goes from a 5/4 to a 5/3. But all your other cards still get the extra power, and you can still do really well. And like maybe your Sarah goes from a 5/4 to a 5/3. But like Mysterio takes a bit of a hit. Instead of it being a 2/4 on the base, it goes to a 2/3. But like I still think this card's good. This is prior to the OTA change. His play rate is 13%, win rate's lower, average cubes is lower. And then post-change, his win rate went up. His play rate, I believe, got adjusted, about half. And his cube rate actually went up. But it's because they're not using him in the same shell. I think because that shell doesn't have the tech to counter all of the big powered cards. Like, honestly, I mean, yes, you do have Shadow King potentially if you are playing the Hit Monkey build, but like, or US Agent. But like, still, it's just not enough power unless you get like the perfect rolls.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely like been a big hit, I think, in terms of the total power output of that deck. And I think showing that they had to bring him straight down. Part of me also kind of wonders, and I have no proof of this obviously, but no proof of this, but part of me kind of wonders if part of the reason why they were making this change here is because rather than just saying like, oh, hey, we're going to bring him down to bring everything into your 3. He was too broken at first. Part of me kind of wonders, do they not want to fully accept maybe that like they were giving him too good of an ability at first?
Yeah.
I think they do a good job with their balance. But a part of me was like, is this just them being like, well, we're nerfing him here. Maybe he should have released as a 2/4 set all power of the cards to 3. But let's just give him an extra point of power to make sure that it's also not just like a season pass card bias.
Yeah, let's just make him one of the best cards in the meta right now, so we sell all of our season passes.
I mean, yeah, right. Like, but that's what everyone said. But then they nerfed this season's pass card, the quickest nerf to a season pass ever. It was small, but it was a nerf.
It was a nerf and not a buff, because this deck was overtuned, and like, I mean, it still is incredibly good after losing the 1 point of power. Yes, of course, it doesn't go to a 3/11 now, but it still can go to a 3/10 with the right procs and still get free scar value. But something that like is really interesting, before we look at the stats actually here, is KM was talking about this with Lambie this past week on their podcast, where they were talking about they released a season pass card earlier this year in Scar that honestly was not performing really well. But when they released Surtur, that was immediately a card that synergizes immediately with Surtur. When it comes to some of these other season pass cards, normally they release cards that work with other cards that players already have, that have kind of already obtained, whether that is a Series 3 or a Series 2 kind of card. This is one of the first instances where you kind of have to have the Series 5 card to be able to get the maximum value, in a sense, out of the Season Pass card, which is kind of crazy to think about that as like the mindset, and then not having Scar in any spotlights this season at all is kind of like a missed opportunity.
No, that's the biggest thing I take issue with out of this whole situation, out of just Surtur.
Yes.
They had him in spotlights, I believe, last month. right? Or maybe it was like last month, or it was a month before. I think it was just last month, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they had been spotlight caches last month, and if you don't data mine stuff, like if you don't have the access, if you don't look at the data mines, which so many people don't, you don't know that you want Scar.
Yep.
And so, also he did lose point of power in this OTA as well. I haven't mentioned that, but you can see it on screen. But that really, that feels like the biggest, I think.
Yep.
I don't even know if I really want to say mistake, but it really feels like a big mistake. Like, he should have been the card in the very first spotlight cache of this season. Like, he should have been there. I don't know if it's not Valentina. I don't know who it's not. But, like, I think we should have been able to immediately talk about him and how the value is. And again, it also just encourages people to buy more of the stuff that they probably want people to buy. So, yeah, I agree that this is, like... I don't take issue with them buffing or making a card that works specifically with the spotlight card.
Yeah.
But I do think I take issue with the fact that the way that they released the spotlight caches didn't feel like they were actually caring about this season or something like that. So yeah. I don't know. We could talk about that more whenever we get to the monetization section of this. But like it definitely felt weird.
Yeah, and it's like, if this becomes a Series 4 card, the month after Surtur is the Season Pass card, I think that's also a feels bad. I get it's an opportunity to, sell this card a little bit more, but I do think that also is, like, this totally could have been, like, we should have had series drops in November if this card is going to play in with that. But we'll see. Like,
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. Let's look at the stats real quick prior to the 1 point power change for both of these cards.
And so again, this is like the first word. These previous stats were the previous 7 days before the OTA, and then this current stats is everything since OTA. Whenever we're talking the two differences. But
and so we don't have Surtur on the screen at the moment, but I can just tell you guys right now, he was above Shadow King for play rate, popularity, average cubes, and win rate. Scar over here, 56% win rate, 10% popularity, plus 0.3 cubes, which is still crazy. And then post OTA, Surtur is still 20% win rate, or 20% popularity, 52% win rate, plus 0.12 cubes. And then Scar's average cubes has gone down, play rate has gone down as well. I believe Scar was at 10%. No, play rate actually went up for Scar. Surtur's play rate went down a little bit. Shadow King's went up. But like they're still in a good spot, which I think I don't think they're completely busted. I think it's just a boring archetype to play against. That's mainly the thing, opposed to like being mad at it.
I agree with that. No, I don't think there's anything to be mad with it.
No.
I think it's a very, what is it? One of the changes I think I like, and it actually goes into what like some of the current top meta card like decks are right now, is that like I mentioned before a couple times, Ajax has come back a little bit, but that's because both Cassandra Nova and even Scorpion that we're seeing a little bit of a resurgence of, both of those onto Surtur, onto Scar, and the other cards inside of their decks now directly just bring them down into no longer buffing everything else, which I think is actually I think that's a good change. I do like the fact that it's now a lot more fragile. It does also somewhat maybe help if you want to argue that it can't do as well against Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
But I think in general, I like that setup because then it can mean that if everything goes correctly, yes, this can work, but it just makes the archetype feel a lot more fragile, I think, than it was before. It's still good, but it's no longer as consistent. Like I can't get Scorpion, I can't get Cassandra Nova and be like, oh, I'm still fine. All my cards are gonna be chill here. Maybe one or two don't work as well, but I think in general I like this change.
Yeah, I think even with the 1 point power change and talking about all the affliction, like we don't have it in here. This is a sidebar, but like people are just putting Luke Cage in everything right now. Like Luke Cage is just everywhere.
Yeah, we're not talking about the cards that like dodged, but I think Luke is. I'm not saying he's. If I was looking at all the stats, I want to say like very recently, I think he's number 11 in terms of popularity. And another card who I'll just say we don't have to talk about. We're not gonna have here is Hydra Bob.
Yeah.
Which Hydra Bob's a really interesting card. It's just the fact that it's the 1/5 is not a downside. It's the moving once in a while isn't a downside, and people are thinking it is. It's just not.
Yeah, no, it's so, not. You play around it, you play for it. Like
yeah, you're fine with it. Like if anything, It's fine. I was fine with it when it was a 1/4. I
Mhm.
played with it when it was a 1/4. And now that it's a 1/5, I don't know, like I was fine with it then, still fine with it now. If anything, I just think it goes to a 2/5, 2/6. I don't think it can exist as a 1-cost card. I just think it is too good as a 1-cost, I think is my place with that. But that's it, again, asides. But I will say before we go to the next one, we have to do Black Widow here. One of the things they mentioned about Surtur, and I saw the content creators talk about this as well, is that when Surtur was originally made, he was made because the Scar deck wasn't doing well, and he was made to buff that deck up. And then they released then this card got added, and the deck was doing good. So it's a problem.
And it looks like we had a brand new activate card, right? So Black Widow going from a 3/3 to an activate now. I think the main reason, which I'm hoping is probably the main reason they did this, because of the misery interaction literally was miserable. This into misery into Phoenix Force. I can't tell you how many times I got hit with this on Carmitage, and I really just wanted to chuck my PC across the room because I'm not playing on my phone.
No, I think decks like this, the Grandmaster Absorbing Man deck, it wasn't putting out good enough stats, but the Misery Phoenix Force version was able to help it out. This card, as an on reveal, was continually becoming oppressive. Second Dinner has shown in the past they do not want something that shuts your opponent out of the game to be a good archetype. It can have a place, but it should not be the best thing. So Legion, Storm, whatever, that stuff is similar. Old Spider-Man, like Super Old Spider-Man, where he just stopped you from playing cards there. I think they're trying to just make a point to make sure that this can't be the best thing to do. So lock your opponents out of locations, lock your opponents out of drawing cards, something like that. And I saw someone say that they didn't like the change. It felt like a Band-Aid, but I think this isn't a band. I think honestly, if you want to talk about a card that has a Band-Aid, Magic has a Band-Aid.
Yes.
This card doesn't. This is them just like, they don't say this card can never have its on reveal happen again. No, they're using it as the activate, which is cool to have. And I like that ability. I like the fact that they're doing that rather than anything else. It feels like actually they're very smart with this change. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, it's more of a time change too. So like you can kind of like, oh, my opponent just did this. Well, Black Widowed. And then it's like, oh, I actually can't get any of my cards. You just Mr. Negatived on 4. Well, my Black Widow's over here. I'm going to activate her right before your turn, and then boom, you can do your chain.
No, what was it? Yeah, activating on turn 4 in order to stop, what's that? Is it Asgard that draws the 2 cards? Asgard for that. It also works against... I saw some people trying it. It didn't look like it was good, but Silver Surfer with Crystal, who is also buffed in this. So Crystal was also buffed to a 3/4 as well, but which Black Widow did get back. She is actually just it's still not a good card, but I saw people trying to do that where they would put Black Widow on the board and then activate her and then play Crystal.
Yeah.
In order so that, which let's go. We finally have Crystal synergy in the game. Yeah.
Gosh, it's still just horrible.
It's such a bad card still. Yeah. It's still being played more, right? If you look at the play rate, it did go up a bit. But
it doubled. It went from 0.6 to 1.2. So
yeah, and it does have technically a higher win rate.
Oh my gosh.
Its cube rate's still lower because more people are playing it, and you're seeing why it's bad to let your opponent draw cards. But yeah, in general, I think this was just another good change. Just another good one.
All right. And then we have Jessica Jones getting +5 whenever you don't play a card there. I'm cool with it. I mean, Jessica Jones is a very strong character. As it is, I think she should get to 10 power if this does not work with Surtur, because it's turn after, it's not turn of. She's dropping 10 power on the board, which also was part of the text change with Surtur as well. But I'm not opposed to this. It's cool.
Yeah. This is, when we talked about it before, these are the, what is it? When we talk about her, Jessica Jones, when we talk about Crystal, we talk about Winter Soldier. And also the other card that we have here that is... with Heimdall going to 10 power as well. These are free points of power, I think. You can just give these cards because they're not really good anyways. And if you just give them... The best version of Move doesn't run Heimdall.
The best version of Move does not run Heimdall, but Heimdall is really good in earlier pools. And I think that's one of the better...
Yeah, no, I think all of those cards are just ones that are like, they can stand to get a point of power. It doesn't hurt them. It just gives them a little bit of love, and that's fine in my opinion. I don't think any of that. I don't have any issue with any of those cards. And the best part is, every single one of those cards that we actually saw, those are all like, are those Series 1, Series 2 stuff, right? Maybe Series 3 for one of them?
Jessica
Crystal?
Jones and Heimdall are Series 1, and Crystal is Series 3.
Yeah, and then Bucky Barnes is like really early too. I think he's
Series 1.
He maybe, yeah. So again, I just like all these changes. I think those are just good choices to buff, give a little bit of love to those cards in the early series, and a bunch of those cards in the early series means that one card early game is not going to be, or one type of deck early game is not going to be the most prominent.
Yeah.
But it does gives them a little bit more relevancy late game, so that when, again, I think I've talked about this before, when people jump into the game and they're like, oh, a Marvel themed game, oh my gosh, I'm so stoked to play like my Captain America. I'm gonna get to #1 in the world with Captain America. And you're like, oh, actually the best deck right now, yeah. No, that runs staple Marvel characters that you definitely know and love, like Surtur, Scar, Typhoid Mary, the classics.
Yeah, classic cards. They're always going to be the best cards, But Captain America does work with Typhoid Mary, so that is a plus, So we love that for Captain America. Meta relevant, just like the Destroyer change, going from a 14 power to a 16 power, which I do enjoy, but I think if Destroyer just also destroyed all the cards in his lane, just went back to the other thing, that maybe would make him better. But it's interesting.
I don't know if that's I don't even know if that's the right call.
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't good there,
no.
honestly. So I don't know if putting it back to that would be the right thing.
It loses you game by the way if you play it.
What?
It loses you games, by the way, if you play it. It's got a negative 0.27 cube rate.
Yeah, it's definitely not good. In general, I think it's fine that they did this back, because it definitely was. It was definitely just a rebalance when they made it so it hits cards at other locations, and I know exactly why they did that. I don't know if that's better for the card.
Yeah.
So, I in general, I was like, okay, yeah, sure, this is fine. I don't know if the card's still good.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there, but that is going to be the gist of the OTA, and the patch change was pretty cool. We'll go over it real quick. You now can see what albums are for cards, which is actually
But let's be honest, no one cares about that because we had so many data mines. We're not going to go through all of them today, right? We're saying that now. We're not going through all of them today. That's a future video. There's a lot of people who put out content. Tucker's, I know, already recorded multiple videos. We both reacted to it live on our Twitch channels, which if you haven't, you should be following us. But if you, there's a lot of really cool cards. We can say the abilities of the cards as well because we don't have them on screen. Which one's your favorite that is data mine just in general? Out of all of them.
So, I talked about one prior, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go to the different one because you might do the one I was thinking of. I'm gonna go Bullseye right now. Bullseye is gonna be one of my favorite cards at the moment. It's a 4/5. Activate, discard all cards in your hand that have 1 or less power, and afflict as many cards on the board that have been, the amount of cards that you discard afflicts that many amount of cards on the board with -2 power on your opponent's side.
Yeah, I'm gonna use the exact wording real quick because he's a 4/5 card that says activate, discard all cards that cost 1 or less from your hand. Afflict that many different enemy cards with -2 power. He's not coming out till January as data mine. Everything is subject to change, but in general, yeah, he seems like a really cool card. I think he's going to be an absolute blast. I love the fact that that card seems like it's going to be in a similar way to when I remember when Phoenix Force got added. Everyone's like, "Why in the world are you trying to mix destroy and move? Stop it. It's not going to be a thing." He's definitively doing that now with discard and affliction, and I'm stoked to see if it's going to work.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun.
Yeah, and the fact that he's an activate is a really good deal. We've already seen how good Hellcow was when he discarded multiple cards or she did, I guess. Yeah, because it's Bessie. You see the others.
Yes.
Whenever she discards all your cards from your hand, or 2 cards from your hand, but Bullseye being able to discard all of them that cost 1 or less, it's a completely different deck, and I'm stoked to see how it's gonna work.
Yep. What about your card? What is your favorite card for the next 2 seasons? Or that we got down in mind.
Yeah, I think just my favorite card. I think I have some that I think are going to be the best, and some that I'm most excited about. But I think the simplest one that I think is going to be just fun, and I actually love the fact that it's going to make its own archetype, is the Doom 2099. What is it? So Doom 2099, he's a 4-cost 2-power card. After each turn, add a Doom Bot 2099 to a random location if you played exactly 1 card. So similar to the way Athena gets 3 power if you play 2 cards each turn. If you play 1 card each turn, Doom Bot score. So again, that can also count the turn he plays. So that's, and the Doom, and real quick, what are the Doom Bot 2099s? They are also 4-cost 2-power cards, but they have ongoing abilities of your other Doom Bots and Doom have +1 power, which I'm pretty sure has synergy with regular Doctor Doom, which again, these are all data mines, so no, can't confirm it, but that could mean that if you're playing just Doctor Doom 2099 into Sandman into Doctor Doom, that's just a crazy amount of power that I don't know how your opponents are going to deal with.
Yeah, that's like next level. Like, how do you mess around with 41 potential ongoing power?
Yeah, I think in general, I have no idea if it's going to be good. I'm probably going to be annoyed with the deck pretty soon because it's a very linear deck. It's not I like to be able to do a lot of different stuff, but in general, I love the fact that Doctor Doom can become an archetype. Just yes, that's really cool to me.
I'm pumped for that. And then we also have a new card coming out this week, and that is gonna be our good old boy Fenris Wolf. Which is going to be a 2/3, activate, resurrect your opponent's highest powered, discarded, or destroyed card on your side of this location, meaning wherever Fenris is, that is where the card revives. What are your initial thoughts on this card?
Shang-Chi didn't need a buff. I have a friend, I've talked about it. I have a buddy who's just like jumping into the game, and he said, is Shang-Chi getting a nerf? I said, no. They're very happy with the way he's existing. In fact, he's getting a card that makes him stronger. Why? Was what my friend said. My poor innocent friend who has 1,000 collection level said, no, my trusted friend. Why in the world would this game do that? And I said, I don't have the faintest idea. I don't know. In general, the card seems a blast. Like, actually, it's going to be a blast. But yes, it is just it's just, like, Shang-Chi doesn't need a buff. Like, actually, I don't get why it is a buff for Shang-Chi. It feels like if this, with this card added, I feel like they should be nerfing Shang-Chi. They should nerf Shang-Chi during the last OTA. Honestly, I think Shang-Chi should have gone down to a 4/2 at minimum.
A 4/2, wow.
Right, like, he's good. He's just such a good card. Yeah. And especially with the Fenris Wolf combo, you play Shang-Chi final turn, and then activate Fenris Wolf, and you just get whatever they played.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good card, but I don't think it's like an amazing card. I think it's very predictable. I think we're thinking of the perfect high roll every single time with Shang-Chi hitting the right card, and like that getting, the value for Fenris or tempo Shang-Chi. But like, you also could, if you are going to Shang-Chi final turn, you just play your stuff onto the Fenris lane, and you play your other big cards on the other lanes. So like, okay, well, you have to choose where to Shang-Chi now. I think my favorite part about this is honestly the discard value you can actually do. It's a counter directly to Hela, which I really like, which is funny because they synergize. Like Hela is that, like, she does stuff with Fenris, even though Fenris is the offspring of Loki, which is very interesting because this is based off of Fenrir, in Greek mythology. That's what like this character is based off of, which is really cool. Yeah,
but I think in Marvel they renamed it to Fenris, and I think you meant Norse, but yes.
Yeah, Norse mythology. Yes, 100% Norse mythology, not Greek.
Yeah. This guy reads Percy Jackson, doesn't know the
difference. But I think we are thinking a little too high on this card. I think it's definitely a good card and definitely will have stake in the meta and may define it in some ways, but I don't think you're always going to get the perfect Shang-Chi kind of thing, which is why I'm going to be playing this in mill, and I'm going to be getting a lot more mill value.
Definitely. I definitely think that in general, yes, it's not going to be just the best. You're not going to just be Shang-Chi the card. Yeah. But I do think you need to be putting it inside of decks that are going to have other uses for it.
Yes.
And then Shang-Chi is an extra enabler.
Yes.
Like, this is activating Fenris Wolf is pretty much just the action you do at the end of the game.
Yes.
I don't see a reason why you don't, other than end of the game, I don't see a reason why you do it.
Yeah.
So in general, I just think, yes, it's going to be good for just the mill stuff in general. I like that. I actually really am stoked with trying to do some more Black Bolt stature stuff, because I do think that's going to be a fun place to potentially mess with. And also Fenris Wolf, and also I think Werewolf by Night could be good there too.
Yep.
So also just double Wolf is just a fun idea. But using all of that stuff and trying to balance out that as much as possible is really good, because also Fenris can mean that if you're activating him, it's not going to have the same sort of trigger that you would be worrying about with Werewolf by Night. So actually, I like the idea of Fenris Wolf in general. Also the fact that because it is an activate, you can put it onto a Cosmo lane. Yep. And it's fine, which is that's insane to me. It's gonna be I think a good card. I don't think it's gonna be busted. I know I'm talking about the high end stuff here, but with relatively easy deck building, this card's a great card.
Yeah, with relative easy deck building and cards that are pretty accessible for a good variety of people, I think Fenris does have value. I think, yeah, like, of course, there's going to be ways to, like, you know, counter this and stuff too. But I think also, key prospectively, this does not work with Scorn, Apocalypse, Deadpool. So definitely keep that in mind. Or even, like, if you're trying to get a Wolverine, because Wolverine is on the board. But this can work with cards that have been Yondu'd. If you Yondu an X-23 or you Yondu a Wolverine, it can revive those cards. It's also a direct counter to Phoenix Force. You can kind of stop that, which is pretty interesting.
Because that's a very important distinction there.
Yep.
Because with both Phoenix Force and also, again, we talked about a counter to Hela. This means so when he resurrects the card, that card is no longer in your opponent's graveyard. If you imagine. So Fenris will take it out of, what is it? If Hela wants to bring that card back, Fenris has already taken it from that area and brought it back. And Hela will no longer be able to do it again. If you activate Fenris again or have a second Fenris, you won't be able to get another of that same card. It will be whatever the next highest power card is. If you steal, let's say, their Human Torch, and then they play Phoenix, and you activate, then they play Phoenix Force, it won't hit the Human Torch there. It'll do nothing because there's no other cards in there. It goes really well into the discarded destroyed thing. So when you click on your opponent's area, or even your like icon in the corner, right? If you can click discarded and or destroyed in order to see exactly which cards were discarded or destroyed. Any cards in those graveyards are the ones that you will be able to hit, and you will pull one of your opponent's cards out of that graveyard with Fenris. As just overtly clarifying, but I do think that these are questions that a lot of people have asked, and so I'm trying to be overtly specific there.
And with priority as well, that is the best way probably to use Fenris if your opponent's running a counter, because if Fenris does get Red Guardianed prior to your turn going off, Fenris will not go off. If he could get Lady Deathstriked as well, or Professor X on that lane before your Shang-Chi happens and your Fenris activation, Fenris will not do anything. So just keep that in mind. That's the way that the activate works. Your turn still has to happen for like the Fenris to happen.
No, I'm trying. That's why I said Cosmo, because they can't turn off Fenris if Cosmo's there.
Right.
Which is going to be very broken. I think it's going to be a very good setup. I don't think broken, but I think it's just going to be very good.
Yep. And then we also have another card actually coming out this week as well that you're not going to be able to obtain just in Spotlights. But we do have King Eteri coming out as well. It is going to be the Deadpool's Diner card, which, by the way, this is an activate as well. A 1-cost, 2-power card. Activate, draw a card from your deck that didn't start there. Fun fact, King Eteri built Mjolnir, and I believe maybe also Stormbreaker.
I don't remember in the comics, but he was played by Peter Dinklage in Infinity War. So, yeah.
And it's an activate, another activate card to work with your hammers. It can work with Thanos. It can also work with Arishem. But it's going to be a very interesting card. I'm glad we're getting another way to acquire a card without having to spend resources. We have to spend a lot of time to be able to do this. But it's cool. It's a Series 4 card as well, to keep that in mind. But what are we thinking about Eteri?
Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, I will say, King Eteri Series 4. He will be released as Series 4, I believe, after Deadpool's Diner finishes. But yes, King Eteri in general is going to be, I think, just absolutely great. I don't know if it's going to be the thing that's going to save. I want to say, I think he's just going to be best in the Thor list. I think just that is your best place for it. Yes, you can do Thanos. Yes, you can try to mess against Arishem, but I don't think it's like a reasonable counter there. In general, I just think the best place for this is probably going to be just going to be Thor. I'm excited about Thanos a little bit, just to see if Thanos can get even more stuff. What is it? It's going to very quickly be the return of the Mad Titan. We'll see it before Christmas break comes. But yeah, King Atreus is just going to be a great card. The best part about this is, again, it's an activate. He is going to be, I think currently the best activate card we have in the game is Aranya. I think King Atreus might take that slot as the best one. The best utilized activate ability.
I would not go that far. I do like him at a 1 cost, meaning you can play him out a little bit easier, which is why Aranya also has the value there. But I think the Aranya value is just a lot more flexible than the King Eteri value.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I like the movement mechanic. Move is just absolutely incredible. Like, Aranya helped take Moon to another level, even though Madame Web, of course, I think is the true enabler there. But I think she adds a lot of value. King Eteri does allow you to get your hammers more consistently and do some Jane stuff. I think this really elevates the Lockjaw iteration of the Thor package a lot, and I think that's definitely where this is going to be. This is also another fantastic pixie card to auto-include into your Thor list. So I do think this does have the value there, and I am looking forward to this card. I think the main highlight of this overall is just that you just have to play the game to get this card, which is why High Voltage was great. You just had to play High Voltage to be able to get Agony. So I think that's the best part. I'm glad that it does add some value to those decks, but we'll see how this works with how prevalent Shadow King is already in the meta right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, with Shadow King's prevalence, we'll have to see exactly how that occurs. But like you said, just the fact that it's the activate makes it such a good. If it was an on reveal, I think this card would be, I don't know, it would be good.
Yeah.
But the activate is a really great place for it to exist. Gives you a lot of places for it, and I'm excited. I just think in general this is going to be a really cool card. I don't know if it's going to be great, but I think it's going to probably be. I think it's going to be decent, akin to what Agony was.
Mm-hmm.
I think we honestly we just made fun of Agony when Agony first came out, but now that we've gotten more of it, and we've played with it more, it's just a good card. It's fine. I don't think it's busted. I don't think it's great, but I think it's fine.
Agony's an okay card. I don't think she's a good card. I think she's okay. She does what she does pretty well. It allows you to set up some stuff better, opposed to having to wait to have a card on the board to be able to Hulkbuster, but I think you're running both. But I think we'll see what happens in December when Penny Parker comes out to see how that works. Spoiler, but we won't dive deeper into that. But that's a little sidebar for you guys, a little footnote you guys bring up on our Yap in 2 weeks.
That's gonna be a fun one. Anyway. No, I think in general there's gonna be a lot of fun stuff. But if we're gonna talk about fun things, Deadpool's Diner is gonna be. I think people are very excited for another game mode because High Voltage felt so fresh.
Yes.
And so Deadpool's Diner coming back is also really exciting. One thing I want to point out with Deadpool's Diner, we got a lot of information in advance previously about everything that's going to be happening in it. We don't know a lot of the stuff as of now, which is kind of weird to me. I feel like I was ready for some sort of update and for them to say okay, this is the differences here, but we haven't gotten that.
Nope.
Have we?
No update on that. No guest video. Deadpool's Diner does start on Thursday of this week. Drop start today. Also, a fun fact, a little sidebar as well. So Twitch drops for a mystery variant. But yeah, we saw in the dev video for this season that Deadpool's Diner is returning, and then also with the roadmap video from last season or the season before, they talked about making it better and they listened to feedback and how to improve the diner, but we did not get any info on how the diner was improved going into this next iteration. So
yeah, I'm not expecting big changes, honestly.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing I'm going to say that I hope for is, I think I've talked about it before, I really am hoping that they didn't make it so you can just buy through all the tiers again, because that was, I think, my biggest issue with it previously. And again, we did a whole episode, if y'all want to go through, it's in we had a full episode where we talked about the highs and lows of each game mode.
Yep.
And I do think in this one, in Deadpool's Diner in general, I think they did a lot of really good stuff, and I really enjoyed it. The biggest thing that we learned from this, and the people who you have to take away from it, was that this is really focusing, it's going to be really making you focus on snapping and when you actually want to retreat. You have to retreat a lot more often in Deadpool's Diner. If like,
yes,
I don't know if we're getting into, maybe it's like the advice section of this bit, but right, retreat often. Simple as that. I think you need to be retreating very often because you have to evaluate on turn 3, on turn 4, on turn 5. Is this a game I want to be staying in? Typically, you're like the stakes typically only raise in Deadpool's Diner or in Marvel Snap at the end of the game.
Yep.
But Deadpool's Diner is unique in the fact that on turns 3, 4, and 5, it also doubles. So you're going to be betting a lot of, and it's not cubes, it's bubs instead.
Yep.
You're going to be betting a lot of bubs. So if you're going to be doing that, you got to make sure that with that stuff, you're going to be putting as much as possible into getting the value, getting all the value from those. Because I believe in general, I think it's still the same highest reward tier. I think it was 500 million bubs last time in order to get the Cassandra Nova variant. And now it's a Jane Foster variant at the top. By the way, King Ichu doesn't have a variant, unfortunately. But do you want to talk about the tables just to make sure give people a recap of like how the tables were working inside of Deadpool's Diner?
Once you get to a certain point within the diner itself, you unlock higher tiers and tables, which allows you to earn more bubs. And you can gamble up to your max, I believe, for that table, or I think it's like a double or triple or something of that. But do not play at your highest table. Play at a tier lower than your highest table, so you have a better opportunity to play multiple games, opposed to playing at the highest point, because if you play at the highest point and you lose at the highest point, more often than not, you have to wait for your cooldown time to reset. Whereas if you play at the lower, you build up, you build up, you build up, and then you go to the next table. It helps you progress better, and you can manage your snapping and retreating, like Dancer said, way, way better there. Also, play meta more often than not, just to get the card as quick as possible. Of course, it's going to be painful because you're going to see a lot of Airshim. You're going to see a lot of Thanos. But play stuff that counters either what you keep facing like you would. Take this like you're trying to hit infinite. Take it that exact same way. Play that way, and you will be able to do well. It's not like high voltage where you're also getting extra energy, so you need to play some high voltage decks in order to compete. Play what you know and play against what you can, you're going to be facing.
Yeah. No, there's definitely going to be a lot of that stuff. Yeah, no, I think, like I said, I think retreating is being ready to retreat, especially after your opponent snaps. Again, analyzing each turn, it's really going to matter a lot. I feel like, I talked about it whenever it last came out, and I've said it before, Deadpool's Diner is the closest, I think, to, like, gambling in this game, because you're already kind of gambling whenever you're willing to snap. This forces you to increase the amount of that and forces a lot more focus onto there. But with that in mind, snap early.
Yep.
Being aggressive in your retreating and your snapping is gonna matter.
Yep.
If you're snapping early onto a place where you're like, I think I've got a line, you're planning it out. Okay, well, I can play this here on turn 3, turn 4, I can do this. Turn 5, I could probably figure it out, and then I've got this for my turn 6. If you've got your line and you think you're winning, as you can maybe know what you're playing against, snap it. Take the advantages that you can, because any sort of advantage like that is going to matter a lot in this game.
Yes. No, totally.
And that's gonna be really good stuff. But I think, like you said, though, playing at a lower table is gonna also really matter a lot too. If you want to play at your highest table, you are acknowledging the fact that you're betting more, and you are gonna win more and lose more.
Yep.
And how it works is once you're out, there are, I believe previously there are multiple different places, because it tracks your total bubs gained throughout the whole thing. That's what the tracker is. So once you get to, I think last time it was like it was a couple of hundred. Once you've reached at least that many you've gained in total, what it will do is it will then put you into it will give you more bubs that are generating over time, because you can't play this game mode over and over. And that's something that annoyed people a lot previously.
Yeah.
They did make it the lowest table is only 8 bubs that you need, so it's not, you don't have to go crazy there. But if you've lost all your bubs at the lowest table, you're kinda just screwed there at that point. Like, honestly, you are just gonna be screwed there, and you have to wait 8 hours before you can play again.
Take mental
A lot
breaks.
of people, please. that was one thing that really annoyed me about the last one, that everyone complained that you had to like, oh, I can't play now for 8 hours. That's okay. It's okay if you can't. You don't have to play the game for 6 hours in a row like some dumb content creator. Content creators do that. I've done it. Tugger did it. I know other content creators did as well. Don't do that. When it happens, you just you accept it and you do something else. You don't need to keep playing the game that much. It's okay. You'll be okay. And then you get back to it, and just by playing normally, you'll probably be able to make it. People did it. A lot of people complained, but you can make it to King Ichu very simply. And if you want to go for the extra mile for Jane Foster, you can. One of the also things here, at least previously, there were a lot of really good rewards on the track.
Yeah.
And one of the things I mentioned before with High Voltage is that there weren't a lot of really great rewards there. But that's because High Voltage had no punishment for losing.
Yeah.
This definitively has a punishment for losing. You're timed out. Unless you want to, they will probably allow you to still buy, like, use gold in order to get yourself back up to whatever max, at least, I hope. Hopefully it doesn't let you go crazy above it, but I don't know. Who knows with it? But that could easily still be a thing. And I would expect at least you to be able to buy back into it to skip said timer, because that just is, it's a free game. Makes sense they would allow you to do that. So don't be surprised if and when that occurs, and just take that time and slow it down, and that's okay. Because all the rewards as you slowly go through it are going to be, they're sick. There are some really good rewards in there last time. Like, I think it was, I don't remember how to collect. We got a lot of collector tokens last time, didn't we? I feel like
we got a lot of borders. I know that.
Yeah, we do know at least they're going to be 3 gold cosmic and 3 gold metallic borders at like the very top of the thing, which is sick for this one. I don't know about the rest. We haven't really seen that stuff here, but there's a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, I'm pumped, and I think the diner is going to be a fun time and another just different taste, when it comes to Snap. But talking about, sometimes being able to pay for tiers and stuff, we got to take some time, and we're gonna talk about the monetization. But we're gonna start off with a high note, I would say, because we did finally get some more compensation for the misuse of the split percentage that happened a couple of seasons ago. It took them quite a bit to get back to us on it. But there are now tiers too, based on how many splits you did during the time when the infinity split rate was lower than it normally should be. You're put into a different tier based on how many splits you had for a card, and I believe you're getting about 10% compensation for the amount of credits / boosters you spent, and it is based on the median player, meaning this goes from top to bottom. There's other people that maybe get more. There's maybe some people who aren't going to get any. It really just depends. But I think for the most part, everyone split at least 1 to 10 cards. But 10% I think is better than nothing. Still, maybe I could see people wanting more, but I think this is a nice change.
Yeah, no, I definitely think I said it before that I really I didn't think they needed this that much, but at the same time, I definitely do. I like this change to 100%. I think it's going to be a good situation in general. What is it? It's going to be good. Yeah. So you're going to get the boosters. The boosters are going to be divided up. Every 155 boosters are going to be for a random card. They're not giving back the boosters, or like 10% of every single thing. It's a very difficult task. Yeah. They're not doing that. And that's fair, I think. They don't need to they don't need to give everything back you invested. This is 10% back because you were still able to split stuff. You still got collection levels. You still made progress in other ways. You just didn't get cool looking stuff.
Yeah. And
getting this much stuff back is going to be sick. You don't know which group you're going to fall into until you're going to get stuff delivered into your inbox. And I don't know if they've said, I don't think they've said an ETA publicly on that yet. So we'll have to wait and see exactly when that occurs. But that's going to be good. I think I'm in one of the last two. I don't know which one of the last two I'm in, but I know I'm going to probably be getting at least 10,000. I know that much. So I'm stoked about that at least, which is going to be fun. I don't know which cards. What are you going to split with all this stuff? I don't know what I'm going to go for.
I'm working on my Surtur Slam deck. I think I love that deck so much, and it's crazy the impact it's had on the season. So I want to make sure that's really decked out.
it's almost like this guy made a really good deck. It's crazy. Yeah, no, that's a really good one for it. I think that's gonna be a fun one. God, I wish I had a good plan for what I was gonna upgrade, because I don't know. Like, I feel like the cards that I like the most, I've already upgraded a good chunk, and I don't have any extra boosters for. Like, I don't know. I'll have to figure out exactly which one I'm gonna go for. I don't have a good answer on that, but I'm very happy about this, at least in general, because these are gonna be free rewards back. Because when they first gave back the Magneto like avatar, as well as it was I think a border too.
Yes.
They said, what is it?
It was the rainbow, cosmic rainbow or whatever border.
Yeah, it was that. Yeah. So, for what it's worth, if it's okay, I'm going to read something that they said on that bit, because I do feel like it was an important distinction, because they did say that they feel like the current rate boost that we have, where previously, so for what it's worth, actually, before I even say this bit, right? They told us it was at 10%. But someone found out a while ago, like in April or something like that it was actually closer to 25%. And then in the October, I want to say, maybe October, I'm going to say patch, it got reduced to 10% due to some stuff that's happening with character masteries. We've already discussed that before. It got reduced there, and then they're going to bring it, and so they gave us a boosted rate right now, where I think the best splits you can get are like 35% for gold, 35% for ink, and 35% for crackle effects. The rarest effects currently have an increased amount during this time due to like balance it out there. They said that they feel like that current rate boost that we're in right now, the variant that we got, and the border are fair to the average Marvel Snap player. We recognize that this one-size-fits-all plan wasn't meeting expectations for equitable compensation. And they said, what is it? They said delivering the exact boosters, i.e. for each character, for each split isn't feasible. All splits that they are counting for this tier list are on the 4th character split or higher. Doesn't matter if you actually got ink, if you got gold, if you got crackle. Doesn't matter. It is still affecting all of those.
Wow.
So that is every single one of those. They didn't say, oh, you got a bad split, this is what you get. No, if you split, you're on your 4th split or more, it counts for this tier list that is in between us here. They said they cannot identify. One of the things people were saying was like, okay, we'll just see who spent a lot of money to get boosters, who spent a lot of money to get credits, and give those people back more things, the whales. They said they can't do that. They said identifying the usage of purchase credits and boosters versus earned currencies like missions, login rewards, etc. is also not feasible. So they don't have the framework for that. And they're being honest about that. I love the fact that Secondary is being really honest about this. And like I said, we still got collection level process. And whenever this stuff goes out, because I think this is going out before, I would hope it's going out before the patch, which is going to reduce our like increased rate.
I hope so. It's
But-
just we don't know exactly how much time it's just going to take, because this is more global, I think, affected, opposed to like when we had the Shadow King bundle, Game of Bundle, how it was a little bit more pinpointed. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
I'm hoping that we'll hear people talk about it if it comes out before then, because they mention that one of the things they say is that the currently active boosted split rates mean that any compensation using credits and boosters has a higher current value. I'm hoping they're okay with that. I'm hoping that's not a thing where they're saying we don't want to give you more value right now. So you have that potentially against it. But yeah, so it is in general, I think this is a good change, but it also gets in the conversation of how much they charge a lot of money. There's a lot of places where you can spend money in this game.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the whole conversation we wanted to talk about in this last little bit here.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad we are getting compensation for the amount of either money or just time we have spent on resources coming back to us. But like, if we take a look just like at the shop, like we have this awesome, and I mean awesome, Flaviano Bishop in the store right now. But it's like these bundles, which have 3,500 credits, which is close to about 2,420 or like 3,000 gold worth of credits, and then 3,000 tokens. You know, you look at this online, you're like, okay, this is a good value there, you know. But it's like at the same time, this is $50, and like it seems like the bundles are just more expensive, and like the gold bundles in particular as well. like you have to not spend any resources at all on variants, and you have to just go for gold bundles if you're trying to maintain like a free-to-play kind of thing.
Yeah, I've said it before, where I don't believe we are going to ever see things akin to, there's a very old bundle that comes to mind where it was a Sunspot variant for 8,000 gold, I think, or something, 6,000 gold, but you got 8,000 collector tokens and 2,000 credits.
Yeah.
I do not believe stuff like that is ever going to come back, because it just encourages people to sit on their gold and never spend it until the best value comes back. If they keep gold bundles at least close to, if not at, rate, I think that's smarter for second dinner. And I know people are like, I love being able to hit the correct thing. I love being able to, find the right deals. I love bargain shopping. I get that, and that's great in the real world. But in a game in a free-to-play game like this, the monetization has to be so much more severe in order for it to work, right? They aren't a charity. They are going to charge money for this stuff.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. One of the things I also noticed, and I was talking to you about this before we even said we want to talk about this. I think we're seeing a reduction of gold in general in bundles. And I think that they want gold to be a lot more focused, and for you to have to, in general, spend actual currency to buy larger amounts of gold. And if you want to buy these bundles, I think they're going to focus more on the borders, on the special variants, on credits and tokens and spotlight keys, and not gold in particular, because gold is very open-ended. It lets you spend it however you want to. But if they give you tokens, if they give you credits, that's a lot more narrow in what you can do with it. You can only spend tokens, collector tokens, on new cards and ultimate variants.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple borders, sure. But yeah.
But
I think credits only go to boost. Yeah, so it's just, I feel like they are honing it back. I don't know if you have any 4U bundles in your shop right now. Yeah, that one right there. So those 4U bundles, if I'm not mistaken, they used to have, that's $10, 10 USD. I think it used to give you 1,200 gold.
Yes.
I think in the same patch where they hit with the split rates, they actually made a point for this, I think. They nerfed the amount of gold that these 4U bundles were getting. These 4U bundles at one point were giving better value than actual other bundles. And now they've nerfed those entirely. And it's just the gold bit, because again, I don't think they want you to get as much gold for these cheaper prices. I think they want you to spend more money on the gold, because again, it is so much more open-ended. And I don't know if I get it. It makes sense that they want the premium currency to be rarer. They don't want you to have as many opportunities to get it, and they want it to be more direct. Sure. Doesn't mean it doesn't mean I like it. Just because I get it doesn't mean I like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, like, you can use gold now to buy collector's tokens. So, like, if they diminish the amount of gold you can get from your bundles, or you can earn organically, and you're also trying to get new cards, they're going to make it so you have to spend money, like you said, to get that gold, to flood that. And I think they were like, the market, like the economy of the game is too gold focused right now. We're giving too much gold in collector's reserves. We don't get gold anymore in the conquest shop at all.
True, yeah.
So like the only way to get gold is, you know, either to do your weekly missions, get lucky with your reserves post completing your season pass, the gold in the season pass, or you have to be a content creator, and you have to be in the content creator program at either tier to get gold.
Yeah, because content creators get, I'm a junior one. I get 1,200 gold each season, and I think you get 2,000?
Yep.
It's not a lot, but it's still, it's again, that's like really that's kind of just it. You know, I don't want to say, because if I say it, I feel like I'm going to jinx it. But if you do me a favor, go to your rank currently inside of Infinite, click that little button. Because right there at number 90, if you scroll to it, that is one of the best ways, I think, to get gold each season. Yeah. 500 gold for hitting 90 in ladder. I'm wondering when I don't want to say it, but I feel like it's gonna come where they're gonna change that 500 gold to be a border.
Oh my goodness.
I say it and I hate it, but when you hear it, does it not make sense of something I feel like they're gonna do?
I wouldn't be surprised. But I really, 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 really hope that does not happen.
I want to say that I really don't want that to happen. But I think Second Dinner is pulling the gold away from those places in order to make these, in order to focus us more into the currencies, in order to spread our stuff out. Because for what it's worth, I've done math on this. Closest thing, like each gold, I think the best way to look at it typically is 1 gold equals a cent. Typically 100 gold equals $1. I know you can buy it at worse rates in the shop, but due to bundles and everything else we have going on, at average, it makes the most sense. And also, mobile games especially, make it difficult to track all the currencies. They have multiple currencies in order to make it difficult. That's why we have spotlight keys. That's why we have collector shows. It's why we have credits. It's why we have boosters. It's why we have tickets. It's literally everything just to make it difficult to track how much our actual dollar is worth. But typically, $1 equals 100 gold is a simple thing. It also, I think, equals 100 collector tokens. And I think it actually equals, I want to say 1,500 gold? Or 150 credits, I think, typically. I think that sounds correct.
For what? 120 gold is 150 credits.
120 gold, 150 credits? Because gold to credits is is every 4 gold equals 5 credits, basically. Right? If you how much is it for the if you want to transfer gold into credits at the bottom of the shop right there? Because that is, again, these are still good rates. Like, these are like the best rates that we currently have, right? So 1,500 to 1,500 to 1,200, right? So that dividing that by there, that's 0.8 in total.
Yeah.
So yes, so 0.8 0.8 gold equals 1 credit, aka 100 there. So in general, I do think that they are going to try to, I think they're just trying to focus more onto these other specific bits. They're going to try to give us borders, exclusive variants and stuff like that for it. And I get it. Doesn't mean I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Like, I understand, but like, I think the best thing they need to improve, which will get people to spend more money on the game, is just to improve the card acquisition and make that a better sense. And I think do you want to talk about that then? Because I feel like that's also a different aspect. I think when people jump into this game, it was a big thing that they talked about when it first came out. Like, what if you jumped to a card game and you could not buy every single card upon release? And that was a really cool concept when the game came out. I think we are seeing, as the game is living longer and longer, why that's not a thing other card games have done. Yeah.
Because you are punished so heavily for taking time away from Marvel Snap.
Yes.
And like that stuff does not feel good. Right? Like, yes, they were talking about our economy, we're talking about our money, but in all, like, time is money. Time is the most important currency. People want your time. Marvel Snap wants your time. That's why they have you check the shop 3 times a day to get 25 credits. Yep. It's why they give you 3 sets of daily missions every single day. It's why they do all this stuff, because they want you to be invested into this game. Because the more time you put into something, the more invested you are into it, the more likely you are, because you've already invested your time, you're more likely to invest your wallet into it. Yep. How do you feel about that card acquisition, though, for the players who decide they want to take a break and they don't want to invest as much time anymore?
It's like a really feels bad moment, because as a content creator, like, people ask you, what can you substitute for this card? How can I play the deck that you are playing? But sometimes you have to tell them, you can't play the deck I'm playing unless you spend hundreds of dollars, or you get lucky for this card to come back into your rotation.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult there. You know, like, you can't be like, well, there's this direct substitution because if there's something that plays similar, which there are cards that, yes, do work that way, but there's so many other Series 5 cards or Season Pass cards that are archetype-defining cards where you literally just cannot get the same results, or you can't play that deck in the meta anymore because there's 4, 5, and 6 other cards that counter everything you're trying to do with something you played a month ago, because the game is continuing to evolve every OTA, maybe patch, and having to come up with this complex diversity, unless you play Erishim, and then you maybe will get the cards randomly. But it's just a huge feels bad for returning players. They had an awesome bundle last season where you got a bunch of Hella cards for $30,
Yeah.
a bunch of Series 3 cards to help you progress in the game. But that's the first time we saw something like that, and we haven't seen anything about that since. We haven't seen anything about card acquisition. We still haven't heard anything about series drops at the time of recording this video, and if series drops are not huge, the way Snap is going right now, it's going to continue just to decline, and 2025 is going to be looking like a really crazy year.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, and it's so truthful, and I think it's good. I don't know. I love Snap. I really want to play more of this game, and so that's one of the reasons why we want to talk about this here, because I think this is it's an important discussion, because especially we know that some people don't put any money in this game.
Mm-hmm.
We spend money in this game, and we are not consistently like everyone else. But that does mean that we can sometimes be playing decks. And I saw recently there's a Thanos deck I saw out there that I was like, oh, this looks like a fun time. I'll play it. And I look back at the deck and I realize this is playing 11 Series 5 cards.
Yeah.
But that's because they're the best cards for it. And okay, sorry. Hey, real quick, if you wanted to play this deck, you only needed to get lucky enough to have them all appear up in your rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that occurs, you just need to spend, I don't know, like just about $1,000 approximately. I don't know, a couple $100 for it. And what is it, like a Magic the Gathering? I think has like decks that are technically like in order to play like a good Magic the Gathering deck, you need to spend like $2,000. But this is also a mobile game, a game that people can play for free. People can play on their phone. A game where any money you put in the game, let's be honest, is not guaranteed. You're spending money on pixels.
Yes.
Not to mention pixel variants, but it is just, you're just spending money on pixels there, and it is difficult to find value inside of that for some people.
Yeah.
And so the situation where people are going to be looking at a deck and being like, I can't play any of this stuff. It sucks. And there's a recent video from Hoagland that I think we also discussed offline, where he talked about the fact that it's difficult for some content creators because of the card acquisition, because of the monetization of Marvel Snap, because the players who have been playing and can keep playing, you can get 75% of cards just with your season pass. I think just with free if you're invested in the game, again, let's talk about like putting your time into said game. If you play your daily missions, if you get the rewards from your from Conquest Shop, from the season pass, from from the reserves in the shop, whatever, like your daily things, your missions, all that stuff, every single like 4 weeks you get about like 30k credits. That's a good chunk of credits, but that only gives you very few keys. If you buy the season pass, it gives you a couple more. If you buy the gold pass, obviously gives you a little bit more there too, but it's very narrow in the places where you can use each one of those. One of the things I've heard, speaking of the keys, and this is something I think I maybe have mentioned with you, and I know you've probably heard this, and I've heard people say it a million times. Remove the dupe from spotlight caches.
Okay.
I disagree entirely. What do you think on it before I like defend my opinion potentially?
What I would love is if you are collection complete, if you, instead of getting a dupe, you have the variant as the fourth option. Just for collection complete.
Just the variant for said card?
Yeah, the variant for the new Spotlight card. If you don't have any other cards.
So if you spend all 4 tokens, if you spend all 4 keys, you are guaranteed to get the variant and the new card?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. I don't know. That's a weird... I'm at a place where I don't want that to be a thing. Not even... I don't know about your thing. I've been thinking about that one. That's an interesting idea. But I don't want to remove dupe protection from the 4th one.
Okay.
I don't think that's a good place, because that doesn't help new players to the game. And it doesn't help people who are returning to the game. The only thing it does is it helps people who are free to play and been putting all their time into the game, and they just get more value from it. And I get it. That's a lot of people who have been asking for it, and that's fair. But in actuality, that doesn't help the people who need it the most.
Yeah.
I think if you're a new player jumping into the game, in my opinion, personally, I think you need more. I think they should get more keys in the early bit of collection. What is it? I think even for the first few reserves or whatever in the area, or I think they're technically caches for a little bit, and then you go to reserves, right? As again, what is it? All the different 5 million different versions of currencies, whatever. But with those, I think that you need to help earlier players out. The earlier people who come back into the game, those are the people I think who need the most focus on. Because if you stop playing a game, and a game like Marvel Snap, which is going to get your time daily, there is a very low chance you return to it.
Yeah.
Especially when Marvel Snap, as fun of a game it is, Marvel Snap is in my opinion, the most unfriendly game to new players or like returning players as it currently stands.
Yes. There's no catch-up mechanic.
No. And when I'm playing a deck that's using a bunch of Series 5 cards, and I'm not choosing Series 5 cards because I'm like, yes, I get to flex all the money I've spent in this game. No, I'm just using it like, this makes sense in this slot. Yeah. It makes sense here. But if I'm going to continue choosing cards that at least make sense to me, and I want to share it with other people, then all of a sudden, I'm just using the good cards and that's it, and not helping them? That feels like the biggest place where I think Marvel Snap is struggling. Now, to give Second Dinner credit, they have actively said multiple times that it is the #1 priority of their team that they are currently working on not compensation, but like, what is it called? Just in general, they are currently working on card acquisition in general. Yes. They've said that actively. We'll see exactly what occurs with that, but it is that they've said they've done it. Yes. They said they're doing it right now. And do we think we wait until we get that, or I honestly want a Band-Aid? It sounds weird, but like I would love a Band-Aid solution where they just say, "Hey, we understand that it's been difficult for players to progress far. We understand that that card compensation has been difficult. Happy holidays. Here are 3,000 collector tokens. Get a Series 4 card or half a Series 5.
That'd be really cool. I would be for that. I wonder how that affects their economy. But a Band-Aid, I think, would be nice.
Yeah, I want a real solution. This is not in part of that, but I want them to take their time to fix this correctly. Yeah. And I think in order to fix that time, or in order to take that time, I think they need a Band-Aid solution, like something akin to that. Like, just be like, hey, what is it? We're bringing back, I don't know, Deadpool Signer again, or maybe High Voltage inside of, during Christmas time. High Voltage would be even better. And you know what? Once you reach this highest tier, you don't get a variant. You will, or what is it? Maybe throughout tiers, there's 3,000 collector tokens just in this area. As you go through this, you play the game. Again, it just rewards people for playing game. Play the game. You hear collector tokens? This is a Christmas bonus voltage, whatever you want to call it. Here you go. And now you have a big boost to whatever the next card is you might want to get here. That's just simple. Or it's keys, or choosing like just the card that you want. I don't know. But I feel like I want players who are returning, who are new in general, to get something. And I think that's going to require a big bit of love, a big amount of attention that is probably going to take some time, and we're not going to see anything on that for a bit. It's one of the reasons we didn't see it inside of their recap or like their roadmap. I don't know. The monetization of Marvel Snap is obviously a very important subject, just myself, and I know for a lot of people. So I don't know, it matters.
Yeah, let us know down below what you guys are thinking, your thoughts on what we've said. If you guys have any additional ideas, and we're gonna wrap it up over here. You got anything you'd like to talk about? But actually, no, I'm going first today. So I want you guys to stop what you're doing right now. I want you guys to click that little down arrow that is the description. I want you guys to see all of Dance's socials right there, and I want you guys to follow him on every single one of them. We might even get a little fancy. Throw the YouTube in there. We're gonna have the Twitter in there. We're gonna have the Twitch in there. I need you guys to hit that heart button. Follow this man on everything. He makes absolutely fantastic content. Absolutely genuine dude. Knows what he's talking about. Loves to yap, as you guys can see. But please follow this man. He makes everything happen. Just want you guys to know that. Right here, behind the scenes, he makes everything happen. Please follow my guy.
Speaking of here, y'all should be subscribed to Twitch, to youtube.com/@Tucker. Tucker, Tuckrr, everywhere. You can find him. He still doesn't have a blue sky, and I've mentioned that, I think, now 3 different yaps in a row. I wonder when he'll take the hint. And follow him on Twitter. Follow him, obviously, on Twitch. I think it's where he and I are the most active on there, and you'll be able to see some pretty good stuff. But yeah, in general, let us know what you think about the card acquisition Marvel Snap. What do you think are improvements to help out the returning players? What do you think is going to matter in the long run? Or do you think it just needs to be directed only to current players? That's an interesting thing I think we don't have time to talk about today.
Yeah.
Do you think the current Marvel Snap players should be getting more love? Or should it be players to come back? Because I argue the latter, but I could see an argument the other way. To even just keep the players that they already have. But let us know either way. Appreciate it, y'all, for listening to this yap, though. And I did the intro for this one, and I will go ahead and do the outro. Thank y'all so much for watching. See y'all on the next episode of Marvel Yap. Peace out. I didn't do it right.